we've got our compost that we've taken from the compost bin that I've got from outside, and we've made up a little slide, and now this is what we're going to be looking at to show you the microbes in the compost, remembering that we're looking for bacteria, fungi, protozoa and nematodes. And hi to Georgina Marsh. Georgina is our other team member. Sorry that you can't be with us right at the moment, Georgie. And so let's have a look and see what we've found. We've made this little drop. Actually, I'll just go back through that again. So we've taken a sample of the compost. We've put a little bit in a test tube, added some distilled water, given it a shake, and taken one drop of this using a pipette, put it onto a glass slide like this, and popped it under the microscope. So now what I'm going to do is, first up, I'm going to scan the slide and see what we can see, what's moving in there. So let's have a look. Can you see? I wonder if we can zoom in at all, or right. Coming in. Oh, don't you love our microscope moving? So, first up, well, actually what we'll do is I'll just take this into the middle, because can you see? Let's just take a go around here. And, oops, lost him. Where is he? See this little becker here, this little critter here?
Oh, he's gone now.
Oh, he's gone.
He's fast moving.
Well, this is what we call a microscope chase, because that was a nematode chase. So this little nematode is really busy in the compost there at the moment, and they are really good in the soil. Sorry about the reflections. I can see that you'll see reflections on there, but you can check him out. And if we start going through, not sure if that's the same one or we've got a different one there. And in here we'll come and have a look at these things at a higher magnification. At the moment I'm looking at something like 100 times magnified what you'll see with your naked eye. And so this is what's in your soil. And you see these chunky bits here, these are the macro aggregates we were talking about. And as we're going along here, oops, oh, there's a slower nematode in here. Let's have a look and see what sort of nematode he might be.
So I think most people have heard of nematodes, and of most concern to most people are root-eating nematodes. But it's actually only a small proportion of nematodes that are root-eating. Do you want to say how much? What is it? Around
it's about 5%.
Yeah,
about 5%. And this one, we can tell that this one is actually a bacterial feeder. So he's going to be eating up the bacteria. And you know how we said that protozoa have a carbon to nitrogen ratio of 20:1? This one actually has a carbon to nitrogen ratio of 100:1. And so it's a bit hard to show you on here, but we can tell that he's a bacterial feeder because of the look in his this is his mouth end, and he's got a little bit of a tummy thing in there that I can tell means that he is a bacterial feeder. So let's go back and have a look and see what else we're seeing in the slide.
I love your comment, Mandy, about it being a more scientific way of saying wiggly thing.
Yep. It is a wiggly thing. And oh look, there's another one. And so now I'm at 40 times total magnification. And we're just doing a quick scan through. Oh, there's another one. Oh, let's stop here. So this is compost, and compost always provides us with lots more organisms than what we might see in the garden, in a normal garden bed. But here we go. What have we got here? Oh, this one is a predatory nematode. So we can tell by his mouth, and he eats other nematodes.
So what types of nematodes are there? We've talked about root eating, predatory and bacterial.
Yes, and there's fungal feeders, and there's ones that eat anything. They're omnivores. So they eat pretty much anything. So he looks like he's going to have a bit of a gobble up there, and then just to the side of him somewhere, So we're now looking at 400 times total magnification. I'm going to go back though.
Almost right there, Mandy. So yes, bacteria or roots, but there's also, as we just mentioned, some of the nematodes will eat other nematodes as well.
Yep, and that one was one that does that sort of thing. Actually, while we're going through here, this is probably a good little spot to look at too, in the sense that in here we've got. Here we can see this one is a testate amoeba, which is a form of protozoa. So that's really good because that's a predator. And this one here is a piece of fungi. So see all these little dots? Can you see all these little dots moving in here? These are all the bacteria. Lots and lots and lots of bacteria. And these bits here are the aggregates. So these are little places where the bacteria can go. And bigger than going to Mars. So what's Costa saying? It's such a world under our feet. Bigger going to Mars. Mars is the unknown world right here, but it is. And believe it or not, we've been doing this for a couple of years, and every time we look at a sample, there's often something different. There's something different about the sample. We just love it. Absolutely love it.
And quite often not what we're expecting as well.
Yeah.
Which is surprising.
I did have here a little insect larvae somewhere in here, so let's just see if we can find him again. We'll just come back. Oh, there's another nematode. I love the
If anyone's looking for good compost, Ellen always comes through with the goods.
Well, until you assess it. So it is a thing. Thank you, Bonnie. But yeah, it's always fun to be able to have something to be able to show people these different organisms, and that they are real, and you just get it from your household waste. Waste nothing. Oh, look at this big fellow. Can you see him in there? Sorry, I get sidetracked. I'm looking for something else, wasn't I? Okay. The insect larvae. Where's he gone? They crawl a bit like an accordion through the soil. So I guess actually at this point you might ask, well, how do we know what we're looking at? And it's all about shape. It's just like we know that we're human because of the shape of us and how we move. Well, we know which ones are bacteria because of their shape. We know which ones are the nematodes because they look like worms. We know that the fungi are like branches on trees. Yeah, it's groovy. So, pretty easy to do. Okay, did we have some more questions? Actually, we had a question from before we didn't answer, didn't we, Bonnie?
There was a question. Someone, Juliet might have been asked about growing vegetables and plants in containers.
And yeah, so I mean, you're still looking at the same things. You're still looking at having what's good for your soil. So yeah, your compost and things in there. I mean, I'm not a big container grower. I must admit, this year I'm doing a little bit more. But yeah, I think well, Julie from Down to Earth has got a good range of, they make a fantastic compost, really good. And of course, Costa with Gardening Australia, you find lots of different ideas there. Have you got plants in containers, Bonnie?
We do have some. Our preference is to grow in the ground, but we're running out of space for growing things unless we dug up our lawn, which my husband's not so keen on doing. So for now, yeah, we've got a few things in containers, but I find they seem to grow better directly in the ground. And that could just be maybe my gardening skills, I don't know.
But hopefully that's answered.
Oh, here you go. What would you recommend for good soil health for people planting veggies in small container gardens?
So again, that mixture, so a reasonable soil and with just a little bit of compost. And did we mention before about how important diversity is? Maybe we didn't.
No, I don't
Do you want to talk about that? With all our cakes and cookies and how all the different plants put out different things, and so you need that diversity to get. Yeah.
So, you're talking about diversity in what you grow?
Yeah, in what you grow, because then the microbes that are in the soil have got all that. How many people have we got? We've got 10 people watching at the moment, and just imagine all of us 10 people who are watching have got different skills and different contacts and things. And if we put them, 11 now, we've just increased our, and so that means that there's lots of different resources we can use to achieve things that we need to achieve, the tasks. And so
we all have different skills, we all have different contacts, so working together as a team, we could probably achieve a lot more than just one or two of us, especially if we all had the same skill set. And so the same applies to your plants and your garden. Having diversity in your garden is fantastic. What's your position on wicking beds and the impact of wicking on soils?
I'm afraid I don't know what the impact is, but I love wicking beds, particularly in summer. Yeah, I think we've, and I just use those really simple ones where I've just put some wood chips in the bottom, a bit of shade cloth, a cool drink bottle with holes drilled in it as the well to put in. And I particularly grow my lettuces. I've got some lettuces outside there at the moment, but I'm not sure about how it actually impacts the soil. I don't think it's really a problem because the wicking actually brings the moisture up into the soil, so you're not getting that anaerobic nature that you can get when you really waterlog soils. So I'm assuming
that brings us to another topic to talk about. So when your soil is anaerobic versus aerobic, what impact it has on the microbes.
So when your soil is anaerobic, and that means without oxygen, so it's not sort of got too much in the way of air, it is the sorts of microbes. These microbes here are ones that really love air, so they really need air. And when you've got anaerobic conditions, generally it tends to be more pathogens and things like that you're actually getting, and we don't want that. It goes smelly. That horrible smell you get about the soil. So, and gets a bit technical here, but one of the sorts of protozoa that we get there are ones that instead of turning that nitrogen, like we talked about that carbon to nitrogen ratio, and instead of turning it into something that the plants can eat, it releases it to the air. When the nitrogen is in the air, the plants can't break the strong bonds. The bonds are really strong, so it's not good to have anaerobic conditions.
Is it ciliates that prefer?
Ciliates are something that are called facultative anaerobes, and so that means that they can live in aerobic conditions, but they tend to thrive in anaerobic conditions. Fortunately, got none in the compost. What we've got up on the screen at the moment, I'm not sure if you can see, is just a nice mass of fungi in there developing, and so fungi is very important in our soil for holding moisture, for taking up the minerals, particularly phosphorus and calcium and sulfur. It's also really important for helping to detoxify the soils. And so the microbes tend to basically deconstruct the soil, and so deconstruct the toxins. And so, really good.
Going back to diversity, there was a comment about, is that where crop rotation helps, and also, or more like a food forest?
Sorry, as far as, no, so both of those, but basically, I wish I could show you a photo a friend sent through this morning of her brassica bed, and literally she's just thrown heaps of brassica seeds in, different sorts of brassicas. So she's got cabbage and kale and cauliflowers and rocket and all of those, such a range of things. And so it's basically having that diversity, so where the roots can intermingle. Research that's been done has shown that something like, it's either, there's different ones, but a minimum of 8 different sort of plant roots intermingling actually just set things off, just makes everything, it's probably a bit like putting the right amount of yeast in your bread, that it just sets it off and lets it really rise well. In this case, it's basically setting the soil, the way the soil's getting built, it just sets it off. So that sort of diversity. So a food forest will certainly be useful for a number of things, Claire. That's both as for accessing your food and doing the different layers in our permaculture type of thing, but also in actually providing the nutrients and in the soil and the sustainability.
And on another point, by having that kind of diversity, if you had a pest that came in, I guess if you're growing all the same crop and that pest sees that you have a multitude of the plant that pest particularly likes, you're going to... Oops,
Just so that we've got Bonnie in as well.
there you go, move back a bit. You're more likely to have a lot more damage, I guess. So if you've got a diverse crop, someone else explained it as if you had your pest come in and go, oh, there's a plant there, but then it has to fly all the way over there and then over there to eat what it likes, you may have a smaller risk of losing all of your crop or having damage to your crops. So that's another reason to have diversity.
And Georgie's just reminded us that the crop rotation isn't always important. So some work that Elaine Ingham has done, Dr. Ingham's done with tomato growers, and so normally you'd rotate your tomatoes often. In this particular example, it was tomato, and I think it was in South Africa, and basically they'd actually grow their tomatoes, and after a couple of years they'd have to go and buy more land to grow more tomatoes because of the root nematodes and so on. And having the healthy soil actually meant it meant that they could just keep growing in the one place.
Yeah.
Because the soil's so healthy. And when you've got healthy soil, the pathogens don't get a chance to look in. So, yeah, that's a simple part of it. Did we miss something else? Oh, hi, Faye. How are you? Good-o. It's lovely to see you. And what's something you saw
under the microscope that completely blew your mind that you haven't often seen?
Look, I know it's weird, but I actually don't. I mean, things blow my mind so often that it's like I couldn't pick the only one. I think for me was the very, very first time I looked through a microscope down at with Brent Burns down in Landsafe Organics in Vass, and I looked through and I saw a ciliate. Now you might think, oh, ciliate, you've just said they're no good, but it was just amazing. This is a bit of soil that it's under our feet, and then looking through the microscope, and wow, this thing was zooming across and whatever. And then of course the nematodes, and so, and I think probably seeing a fungal feeder and the predatory nematode. What about you?
Wait, what about the there was a nematode? Was it shedding?
Oh yeah,
Appeared to be shedding.
Yeah, we had so we saw a nematode, and they shed, they molt, and so there was a nematode inside a nematode and swimming around. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And the pregnant nematode?
Oh yes. I think I quite enjoy watching the ciliates. So as you mentioned, we don't want to see too many in your soil, but they are fun to watch. They kind of have hairs all over them and zoom all over the screen. So if you want to see them, what you can do is take your soil sample and leave the lid on. Yeah. And leave it for a few days, and that seems to provide the right conditions for them to breed up, and then you can see them in your sample.
That just reminded me of the Vorticella. So these are stalked ciliates, and again you could go, actually, because we're so excited about these that we actually saw they're posted on our website, on our Facebook page. Yeah. But they actually are like a spring, and they've got like a bulb at the top, and they actually spring out and gobble up things, and then they spring back in. So they're really cool. Yeah. They are just fantastic. So yes, and they happen again when you take a sample and leave it for a little while. Yeah. So yes, what's that? I want to find, of course, Mandy. Yeah, we should save some samples up so that we can make sure that people can see those. So. Yeah, well, I think, have we reached everybody's questions, I wonder?
Yeah. Was there any other questions before we sign off?
And so you can see, I guess what we were trying to show you was what the organisms really look like in your soil, that there really are live things in your soil, and that in compost is amazing stuff. Yeah. It's so important. Things. So what's Costa saying?
What references or books? Good question.
Oh, yeah. So I think that the Teaming with Microbes website. Well, please look at ours. We've got we do actually have a list of people to go to, but certainly Teaming with Microbes by Jeff Lowenfels is a really good one to give you an overview in sort of layman's terms of all of this. Soil Food Web is Dr. Elaine Ingham's site is an excellent one. There's actually so many these days, but I also like listening to Dan Kittredge from the Bionutrient Food Association, for his website, for his podcasts and YouTube videos. John Kempf is another one who does some amazing stuff. Nicole Masters, because this all fits in with regenerative agriculture. We haven't even really touched on that, but the regenerative agriculture stuff. So make sure you get Nicole Masters' book, For the Love of Soil, and Charles Massey. I mean, we could keep going. I'll stop there.
Michelle Fleming. Hi, Michelle. Courses.
Courses. Well, we love teaching people how to do this stuff, and so we run courses. Well, yeah, Earthwhile Australia runs courses. We, apart from doing the little presentations and things, we run full day workshops on how to use and identify organisms, and then we run another one on assessing soil health.
Yep. Using a microscope.
How to use a microscope. We're happy to travel interstate if we were paid, etc. But having said that, and so we've been trained by Dr. Elaine Ingham and also Dr. Mary Cole in Victoria. But having said that, you've got some wonderful people across Australia who provide good courses in this work. But within Western Australia, we're more than happy to help out.
I'm about to launch.
Beck, Beck O'Reilly, that's fantastic. You're about to launch into regen farming. This stuff, you need to get to microscope and be able to have a look at your soil and understand what's actually happening there. So for the things that you're doing, there's so many people. It's amazing, absolutely amazing. Thank you.
And Beck's just asked about books again.
Oh yes.
Yeah. So we've got a list on.
So we have got some things on our website. That's earthwhileaustralia.com. So Earthwhile Australia, all one word. And but the books,
Teaming with Microbes might be a good place to start.
That's a good one for the things for regen farming. Definitely Charles Massey, The Call of the Reed Warbler.
That's a fantastic book.
And Nicole Masters.
Yeah.
As two definite ones to start with.
Sorry, I'll just go back up here.
Oh.
Can you share some of those as a comment? Oh, yeah, sure. Brilliant.
Yep, can do that. Costa will put those in as the comment.
I'm scratching around in the dirt and photographing bugs. I need your microscope. Can you?
Faye takes such beautiful photos. We'd love to see some more. We can't see what the rest of your comment is. It's Faye.
I don't know. Can you tell me more about the role of protozoa?
Yes. Okay, so for those who've missed it before, the role of protozoa is just so important in the soil. Protozoa, so if we remember that bacteria and fungi are like bags of fertiliser or bags of nutrient, and protozoa particularly work with eating the bacteria. Protozoa, particularly processing the protozoa. So they are really, really important in making the nutrients available to the plants in a plant soluble form, so that they can get hold of them. There was something, so when we talk about the soil food webs and how this sort of works, we also see that that plants have, there's a couple of other methods too. So we haven't talked about mycorrhizal fungi, which is really important, and we haven't talked about something called rhizophagy, which is where the plant roots take in the bacteria. But ultimately, you need all these organisms in the soil. So, good. Oh yes, we can.
We'll do a separate post for the list.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Okay, look, we've had a ball, I think.
We have. Thank you so much to everyone that's joined us on this live, and for your questions as well, and giving us an opportunity to talk about the things we love.
Thank you.
All right, see you guys.
Bye.
Have a great day.